the first speaker we have is someone that, when I was the chair before, he was my membership secretary. So he was in charge of taking care of all of the members and building the community. And he did a phenomenal job. This guy inspires me because he is super fit. And I am not aerodynamically designed for fitness, though I try my best. And I think he's a vegan. He's certainly super organic. He does surfing and yoga and all types of stuff that I haven't yet got to that phase of my development, let's say. But I'm super excited to have Harry come onto our stage for the first time. He's going to be telling you about how you can unleash your inner superhuman. So please give a superhuman Yes Group applause for Harry.
Good evening, London Yes Group. Are you guys up for an absolutely amazing and fantastic evening? Yes. Say yes. You guys have just come from UPW. I'm sure you can do better than that. Are you guys up for an amazing and fantastic evening tonight? Yes. Yes. Great. Well, I've got to say, it's an absolute privilege and pleasure to be speaking here tonight on the YESx slot, which I first managed to grace 5 years ago, in fact, at a different type of event that we were doing here at the Yes Group. And the reason I'm really passionate about sharing tonight what I want to share with you is because the last 5, 6, 7, in fact 10 years have been quite a journey for me, starting way back when. And what I've discovered and what I want to share with you tonight is how to unlock your inner superhuman. So if I take you back to probably about 5 and a bit years ago, I was working at, just like maybe many of you guys, at the London Stock Exchange. I was working for Accenture, and I'd been working in that job for about 6 years, and I was just feeling a bit kind of, ugh. You know, I don't know if any of you guys know the feeling where you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again. You're kind of going to work, coming home, maybe cooking, sleeping, going to bed, doing the same thing over and over. You come to the weekend and you're thinking, right, now the weekend's here, finally going to start, finally going to write that book, do that business, whatever it is. And then you go out Friday night maybe, you have one too many drinks. Before you know it, Saturday's gone, Sunday's gone, and then you're back to Monday again. Is it just me or is there other people? A few other people brave enough to say that. Great. So I was just there waiting for life to start, waiting for this light bulb moment. And what I came and discovered eventually was that there isn't really that light bulb moment, at least not for me, and that there's not going to be that perfect time for you to get what you want and do what you want and be who you want to be, that you have to create that. And so part of me really kind of going to that tipping point was really uncovering some new ideas. And that started from going on a course, investing in myself. So for several years, I'd been intrigued by this subject called NLP. Anyone heard of it? Yeah. Okay. And the reason I first heard about it was 10 years previous, back in 2006, in fact. And I read this book, and this book was not designed to give you an introduction to NLP. It was more for something else. Has anyone heard of the book called The Game? Oh, there's a few people out there. I'm always a bit dubious about when I share this bit. But I didn't take from it the dating angle, because it's a dating book. I took the idea, they mentioned a technology called NLP, and it got me curious. And that got me kind of researching, and I discovered Tony Robbins. And I started doing some of his audio programs, and I started getting some results, and I really liked it. But then it kind of just fizzled for a few years. And I was kind of just skirting in and out of personal development until 2010. And that's when I decided, right, I'm going to finally invest in myself. I'm going to start doing some courses, and I did an NLP course. And what that did is, other than teach me the cool tools and everything that I would later use, let me just blank that out, is it introduced me to some new people. And one of those people then said to me, oh, there's this thing called Yes Group and Basket Brigade. And I was like, oh, this sounds like just the place I need to go to kind of help elevate me to where I wanted to go. Because truth be known, out there's a lot of people that maybe are not going to be so supportive. So it was one winter, terrible winter, snowed loads, and I hadn't been to a single Yes Group, and I was determined to do the Basket Brigade, and I cycled the 10 miles in the snow on these tiny little tyres, and I went to the Basket Brigade, and it was just like an amazing party just of generosity and kindness and giving. And I thought, right, I've got to be part of this community, and I came to the Yes Group, much like some of you guests are here tonight, and I found that actually I needed something like this. And through being part of the Yes Group, through seeing what the table sponsors had to offer, I started going to different events. And one of the events that I went to was one by Joseph McClendon III. Anyone heard of him? Yeah, absolutely. The guy is like almost 60 now, right? He looks 62. So when I saw him, he was like 58, 57, something like that. And certainly from where I was sitting, he looked about 35. And he was like rocking the stage 12 hours a day, 2 days straight. And I was like, my God, what is this guy doing? So he brought some people up on stage at the end and shared with everyone the testimonials of one of his retreats that he was doing. And it was called the Z Factor or something like that. And it was a 3 or 4 day thing. And it was like, I think it was like £3,000. And I was like, man, that is a lot of money for like 3 days. So I started chatting to a few of the testimonial people, and they were saying, well, actually, you know what? Really, he talks about this, and he brings this guy on that wrote this book. So this book was over here. It was like £5. So I was like, £3,000? £5. Which one did I choose? I chose the £5 option. And so I started reading the book, and I didn't do anything necessarily with it, but it seeped into the unconscious. And what that did is it was almost like my red pill. If you remember Matrix and Neo, I kind of took that book as the red pill, and it started me down this rabbit hole of a journey. And I started going to more and more personal development events. I started seeing people who were kind of shifting my paradigms about what it meant to be healthy, vital, what it meant to age, to have disease, to have focus, productivity, success in life. And I started getting curious about all these people, and I started noticing patterns amongst them. Because when you go to enough of these events, I'm not sure if you can relate to this, you know, many people are saying the same sort of thing, you know. So there was this guy over here, or there was 7 out of 10 people over here talking about green juices and drinks. Then there was a guy, lots of people over here talking about gratitude. Another person over here talking about morning routines. So I started piecing all these things together and started adopting them for my own life. And what I noticed over time is that although like I had kind of more energy anyway than I think most of my peers, I mean, most of my friends were like that level anyway. I was probably already there. So I'm not sitting here to say, you know, I was in some like super low state, but I was already quite energized. But what I did is when I started adopting these different practices, it just went up here. It just went to another level. And I know there's more to go, but so far where I am is kind of a lot higher up than I was before. And I started adopting all these practices, and I started noticing the patterns that occurred in them. And I thought to myself, you know, what is this all about? What's the driving point? And when I started learning NLP, I wanted to understand, and I wanted to start helping people change. And I don't know, does anyone else, if they're like me, have some challenge sometimes with change? Do we, you know? Yeah, we don't seem to like to change very often, do we? And what I noticed is that a lot of people have got good intentions, right? They set themselves this target of being a brand new weight, or joining the gym, or starting an exercise regime. And then they falter after a little bit of time. In fact, a recent study that I looked at, conducted by Bupa and Commerce, said that 43% of people with New Year's resolutions quit after a month. Yeah? And then 80% quit after 3 months. Okay? Now, it's already almost May. I'm not going to ask how many New Year's resolutions are on track. Are there any that are still there? Maybe a couple of hands going up. Marilyn at the back. Excellent. But yeah, I've been in that statistic as well. And the reason is because a lot of the time, I believe that people are trying to change a behavior or a habit without first changing what I think is more important, which is their mindset. So this is why I decided as well, I realized that everything changes with a change of mindset. If you want to make some big change in life, whatever it is, it's got to be a mindset first, because people think that willpower and they think that determination, discipline, motivation will get them somewhere. And it's great as a starter, but it won't necessarily get you where you need to go. And if you want to make the changes, I mean, like some of the changes that Ian was talking about that I've made, like from a dietary perspective, and I'm not here to talk about diet, but are vastly different from where I was back here. Now, none of that is a challenge for me right now. Yeah, I was a big carnivore, meat eater, twice a day, every day. I couldn't order salad. It was very different. I come from a Greek family, so here I was like really into my meat. And now, I don't eat any meat, I don't eat any animal proteins, but the point is that none of that's a challenge for me, because I shifted a mindset around it. And so when you start changing that mindset, that's when you start to make changes a little bit more effortless and a bit more ingrained. So I realized it was about mindset first, and I'm constantly being reminded of this, because the problem that I found is that a lot of the time we don't have an awareness of what's going on. And that's the first step to making a change, in my experience, is that you need to be aware of what you're doing wrong in order to make a correction, or you need to be aware of what's causing that habit, that behavior thing. And even yesterday, I was at the dentist, and I haven't been to the dentist for a number of years, and I thought, I better go to the dentist because it's a bit bad if I'm not at the dentist too much. And he was like, oh, the teeth are great, but there is some cracking. And he goes, you clench your teeth. And I was like, do I? He goes, yeah. I mean, it's quite common if you're focusing a lot or if you're exercising a lot, you might clench your teeth. And I was like, oh my God, I want to stop that. I want to stop my teeth from cracking. I'm all about feeling superhuman and being superhuman, which I'll come to in a second what I mean by that. But he said, oh, well, now you've got the awareness of it, you'll catch yourself in it and stop doing it. And I've noticed all day today that when I've been like focusing or maybe exercising, I'm like, oh, actually, maybe they are a bit clenched. And I've been like trying to like relax my mouth a bit. I don't think that's the idea though, but I've got to do something that is relaxing the mouth. And so the point is I've got this awareness now, which means I can start making a change. You guys might not actually have the problem of clenching your teeth too much. However, I suspect that every single person in here does something similar to what I do in the morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a question right now. It might be a bit personal, but it's okay. We're a family here. But think back to this morning, yeah, when you were getting dressed. What leg did you put your underwear on through first? You don't have to say, by the way. You don't have to tell me what kind of underwear you're wearing either. At least not right now. Okay, so what about yesterday? What about yesterday? And the day before? Exactly. Okay, so all right, please don't think I normally go around asking people about their underwear, although as it happens recently I have been. But the point is that it's the same leg, yeah? It's a habitual pattern, and probably until I asked you about it, you didn't even notice, really, or care. And that was the same thing with me. But the point is, now I've brought your attention to it. Tomorrow morning, hopefully, when you're getting your leg on, you'll be thinking of me. You'll be thinking of me. Maybe you'll be thinking of me smiling. Maybe you won't be smiling. I don't know. But either way, I hope that this is going to interrupt that pattern. Yeah, it's going to interrupt that pattern. You go, oh, and then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just switch legs. And there's a good reason for this, and it sounds so trite to say it, but when you start to make these changes, you interrupt the pattern, and Tony Robbins is all about pattern interrupt, and you start to interrupt patterns elsewhere. You start to be more cognizant of things that you're doing habitually. But it also will train your brain to say, hey, it's okay, the change is all right, I've still got dressed. Because a lot of the time we fear change because we fear what it means to us, and it tricks our brain into thinking there's something to fear. So you start doing the small thing, because a lot of people come to me as a coach and they say, I want to change my job, I want to change my relationship, I want to change that. I go, well, start with the small things. Start with changing the trouser leg, the toothbrush, whatever it might be, the route to work. You start with the big stuff straight away, it's going to be a lot harder. So awareness is the first key. Having that mindset for change is what I found to be one of the most important things that you need. But there are other elements in order to feel superhuman. And I should just say what I mean by superhuman. I mean, imagine the best you've ever felt, and then kind of 10x that. That kind of level. Like, so better focus, more energy, more health, more happiness, better relationships. You know, I was the kind of person that used to get 3, 4, 5 colds a year. Now maybe have had 1 cold in the last 5 years. So having that kind of energy and vitality is what I mean by superhuman. And there are 4 main areas that I discovered that require being superhuman. And the first one we've kind of touched upon. And I call this model the leadership beat model. And the reason I call it the leadership beat model, even though it's about energy, is because really I determined that leadership really starts with self-leadership. And if you want to be the best self-leader that you can be, you've got to be on point mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And so there are 4 main areas that you need to focus on in order to feel this kind of energy. And they are the B, E, A, and T. I don't really have time to go through all of them now, but we've already touched upon the first one. But there is some cards at the back. You're welcome to come and take a card for free. But the first one is always about your mindset, your psychology, what we've talked about, or otherwise known in this acronym as your brain. So it's about, are you managing your emotions? Are you aware, cognizant of what you're doing? And are you really able to kind of make those changes from your mindset first before you make everything else? And everything fell into that bucket as well. Then there were 3 other areas that I noticed when I looked at everything that I was doing that I changed, which helped go from like here up to here. And the second one was called elements. And the reason it's called elements, very briefly, and I appreciate this is going to be a bit quick, is because there are 4 elements in old culture of air, water, earth, and fire, kind of all depicted in that picture there. And they're metaphors for what you need to focus on to nourish your body from the inside and out. Air is about having that structured breathing practice and a deliberate, conscious breathing practice. Water is about the importance of water, of good quality water. Earth is around the food that you eat and gather from the earth, and fire is around your relationship to the sun, outdoors, being outside in daylight hours. So again, on the card, you'll find some more details about that. And then third up, we've got activity, and activity really is about the things that you do in a day. So it's not just about the physical exercise or physical movement you do, because exercise is great, but it's only a small part of your day, and you're sitting down for a lot of it. So it's about moving all the time, but it's also about the other things that you do. Things that we talk about in the YESx group quite a lot, about whether you've got passion, whether you've got purpose in life, whether you offer yourself in service to other people, do you have great connections? These things are vitally important. Okay, it's not just about food, it's not just about exercise, which a lot of people just think about. And lastly, if they think about food and they think about exercise, you might get lucky and they might think about the third one, or the fourth one in this model, which is sleep. I don't think sleep is the only answer. It's massively important, absolutely, but the reason I call this section tranquility is because it's about other things that you do in your life in order to rest, rejuvenate, repair your body. So that might be massage, it might be meditation, it might be just having some downtime now and then, it might have a digital detox. All of these things come under the banner of tranquility. And what I noticed that everyone who's doing anything successfully were doing some or all of these areas quite well. And all the different processes that I'd adopted into my own life fell into one of these 4 quadrants. And the way I might use this, and I might invite you to use it in your day-to-day life, and something that I do all the time, because I'm not feeling superhuman all the time, I'm not feeling totally up all the time. I have to put some rituals in place so that I can feel like this, so it's not an accident. But I might ask myself, if I'm feeling offbeat today, what area do I need to focus on from the B, the E, the A, or the T that I need to address? Maybe I've slept enough, maybe I've had my green juice, maybe I've done my exercise, I'm still feeling low, and then I realize, actually, you know what, I haven't seen anyone for like 4 days. I need to get out and have some connection with people, and that will energize me. So I invite you to kind of use this model, and although you don't really know much about it at the moment, on the surface it's pretty simple. When you go deep, yeah, you can kind of get 7 or 8 PhDs in each area, absolutely, but from the first point, where's my emotions, where's my thinking, am I aware of what I'm doing right now? Have I eaten correctly today? Have I drunk enough? Have I taken some deep breaths? So that's for elements. Have I moved my body enough? Am I interacting with people? Am I passionate about what I'm doing in my day-to-day? Do I have purpose? Have I offered myself in service? That's all activity. And then finally, tranquility. Have I rested? Have I had a day off? Have I been on holiday recently? What do I need to do? Again, the card at the back that you can come and take has got some tiny little questions on the back, so you do need super eyesight to read it. But hopefully, if you follow the model, you'll be able to read it from where you are now. So I invite you to kind of take a look at that, because I believe that there is unlimited potential within all of us. I'm just kind of tapping into what I think mine might be. I'm not anywhere near where I could go, but what I did do is down here, when I kind of took that red pill and I went down the rabbit hole, I realized that there was more to life than what I'd been currently led to believe, and that there was more options open to me, and that I had more control over what I could do in my life than I actually thought. And I believe that's true of everyone, and I believe that there's that superhuman leader in every single one of us, and we just need to kind of understand what it takes to get there. And firstly, I think you've got to be on point, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and I believe that this leadership beat model is the device that's going to help you get there. So B, E, A, and T, brain, elements, activity, and tranquility. I think I'm running out of time. I'm wrapping up, but just because I believe there's a superhuman in every one of us, and I invite you to find yours. Let's get super together. Thank you. Connect.